Hi, Ryan. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Rebecca. It's a
Of
pleasure.
course, of course. So let's get straight into the questions and start talking
Sure.
about. So
Sure.
tell me a little bit about the character you're going to play in the sci-fi action Halo.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say too much, Rebecca. Unfortunately, I'm sworn to secrecy, but I'm playing an original character in the Halo world, in the Halo kind of universe, and what I can say is that I work very closely with Natasha McElhone's character, Dr. Catherine Halsey, who's iconic really in the franchise, in the video games, and I'm her assistant.
Okay, okay.
Might be about it. Might be about it. I guess you have to tune in to watch, but you know what I mean.
Definitely, definitely have to tune in to see
Tune
more
in to
what's going to
see,
develop, right?
absolutely, absolutely.
All right, so without giving too much away, then, what do you think fans and viewers are going to be excited to see when the show premieres on March 24th?
I mean, it's such a it's such a iconic, famous. It's so vast. That world, the landscape, how they've kind of crafted the story, the writing, these incredible characters. It's epic, I think, and it's kind of sort of big budget kind of television at its peak, at its best, at its finest, and there's so many incredible television shows and movies that are out at the minute, and Halo, I think, is trying to offer something that will, yes, both appeal to gamers, the gaming community, people that have kind of played the games growing up, but also to a new audience as well, and the sci-fi genre is something that is incredibly beautiful at times, and with what they've created, I think it should hopefully make for an incredible spectacle, hopefully.
Okay, okay. And you mentioned like the gamer community, and
Yeah,
this is definitely going to be something that they're very much interested in. So, when you were
yeah,
auditioning for this for the series, did you
yeah.
grow up as a gamer? Was Halo something that you played?
It's so funny, Rebecca, because I grew up playing the PlayStation, and Halo was available obviously on the Xbox, and I never had an Xbox, but I remember being at my friends' houses when I was at high school, and we'd go over, we were playing football and stuff like that, and maybe you'd go in for a cup of tea or a glass of juice or something like this, and there'd be 4 or 5 of us kind of gathered around a small television. And I remember them playing this game, and I remember thinking, what is this game? And it was Halo. And at the time it was so popular and kind of evolving, and becoming so much bigger, and it really kind of was, it kind of really felt like it was ahead of its time at that moment in time. I'm talking early 2000s, 2002, and around that 2003, probably 2004.
Right.
And so fast forward, years later, I'm going to meet the incredible Otto Bathurst in London to audition for the show. And at the time, Rebecca, I knew very little about it. I had known that Steven Spielberg and Amblin were trying to get the show off the ground for years. That alone in itself was, enough to kind of, have a few sleepless nights in the run up to the audition, because, it was, my gosh, what an opportunity. And it's the sort of thing, Rebecca, I think, that you dream of as a kid, and growing up in a small village in Ireland, one never truly believes that such things are possible, or such things can happen, if that kind of makes sense. So yeah, I knew of the video game, of course I did. I hadn't really played it, and I didn't play it throughout the kind of filming process, because I just wanted to keep that separate. But of course, when I got the part, then yes, I kind of learned, what it was, and kind of what was actually happening and stuff. But it was, yeah, I owe a lot to Otto Bathurst as well, who's yeah, directed the first couple of episodes, an executive producer, an incredible director in his own right. So yeah, I still can't believe I'm in it. Does that make any sense? You know what I mean? I still can't believe I'm in it. But yeah, so.
It's like one day you woke up, you were just like, what? Oh, really?
Yes, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what was the moment where when the news came to you, it was like something struck. You were like, wait, like what was your reaction when you first were told that you're going to be one of the characters in the series?
I was at a coffee shop in the city, Rebecca, and I was sitting on my own. I was sitting on my own, and I think I'd been told, maybe my agent had told me the day before or 2 days previous, that I was on some sort of a list or something like this, and I was kind of going, "What list? What is the list? You know what?" And that almost made it worse, because then you can't stop thinking about it. And I knew that the audition, I thought it went really well, and Otto is, like I said, a wonderful director, and the work that I think that we had done in the room was really interesting work. But I remember sitting at a coffee shop. It was about 2:30 in the day, and it was midweek. And before I left to go to the coffee shop, I was kind of doing up my decking outside. I was power hosing, and I was, I'd been painting on and off, and I was kind of doing a bit of decorating outside, which, I didn't know what to do, Rebecca, so I thought I'll do some things outdoors. And he called me, and I'd only been with my agent, Rebecca, for I think about 3 weeks at that stage.
Really?
And it was the first audition that he had sent me for. And I hadn't auditioned, I think, and I hadn't auditioned for a director maybe in about 2 years or something like this, because, self-tapes and tapes is kind of the way things are. So I think, pardon me, going into the audition, I was probably very nervous and a little anxious, and it was such a huge opportunity. And it was something that I would have absolutely loved to have been a part of. And when he told me that I got it, it was insane. It really was insane. I was out the front of this coffee chain store in the city, and I'm sure people were walking past me going, "This guy is so animated on the phone," but it was tears of joy, Rebecca. Honestly, myself and my agent kind of just, sort of, very much teary-eyed. And because I come from the theater, Rebecca, I dropped out of high school at 17, 18. I started working in the theater in Ireland, and I got into, television probably when I was about 20. An awesome friend of mine, a writer producer, Colin O'Donnell, had spotted me in a short film at the Belfast Film Festival, and really wanted me to play a part in a show that he was producing for the BBC. And that's kind of how I got a start into television. And then I ended up doing independent film, and kind of found my feet in some really interesting project with some incredible people. And so this was something different, to be a part of something so iconic, and so hotly anticipated, I guess. So it was a beautiful moment, I think, for me, but also for my agent, and indeed for my family and my friends that have supported me throughout my adventures as an actor.
Right. And you mentioned that you dropped out of high school to basically follow your passion. So what was that thought process like when you were thinking about how to navigate yourself to follow your passion and basically pursue the career that you want? What was that thought process like? And you mentioned that your family was very supportive. So what was their reaction to when you told them?
I have the most incredible family, Rebecca. I'm so blessed and so lucky to have a wonderful family. And my mother was such an incredible person, an incredible woman. And she took me to local youth drama, and she drove me everywhere, and she was just so incredible. And I kind of had this thought, actually, I think it was yesterday, the day before, I was out for a walk, and I kind of got quite choked thinking about it, because yes, it's an incredible moment for me, but it's as much about the people, my parents in particular. that kind of helped me and supported me and gave me the foundation in which I could then go on and try and do it. Dropping out of school was something that I probably didn't think too much about, Rebecca, really, to be honest. I had some wonderful teachers at school, so a really incredible English teacher called Anne O'Connor, a wonderful woman. And she kind of had instilled the passion in the arts early on, and had introduced me to Shakespeare, and had introduced me to kind of contemporary playwrights and stuff. And so, I think I got an offer of a play, and I remember calling my mom. I was in Belfast, and I just said, Mom, what would you say if I dropped out of school? And she said, look, Ryan, if you want to do it, do it. And, myself and your father will support you. And if that's your passion in life, you got to go for it. So, I didn't go down the more conventional route of training or going to drama school. I mean, we couldn't afford to do it, even if it was an option, Rebecca. So, I just feel very grateful to them. And, it's as much about them as it is about me, really, to be honest,
Definitely. And you mentioned that you didn't go down the conventional route. So how did you, like hone in on your talent and basically practice and, craft your acting skills? How did you do that?
It's a really awesome question. I had a really terrible knee injury from playing soccer, Rebecca, when I was about 14, 15 years of age. I was playing semi-professional for my city. And I loved growing up playing sport in general, but I had a real fondness towards soccer. And after I had knee surgery, I was sitting kind of, sort of the more important exams really at high school at that particular time. And I sat some at home upstairs, and I remember going in crutches to school or whatever. But in that kind of period of about 11 months, I didn't really play football, and I was, trying to get my leg better. And I was kind of, in a sort of rehab for the knee and stuff like this. I weirdly one night kind of came across Konstantin Stanislavski, and his kind of teachings and indeed obviously method acting and stuff. And something had just kind of clicked with me in that moment as a 14, 15-year-old kid. The more I read and the more I kind of studied that, the more it made sense to me, and I guess would sort of become the kind of foundation for my work going forward. But in general, Rebecca, every day I'm always kind of improvising, really. I used to do my best to make my mother laugh all the time, and be silly, and speaking funny voices and speaking different accents, and maybe I'd change my kind of posture or this or that, you know what I mean? And I was doing that really from when I was a kid, so to kind of carry it on as a professional, it has never really felt like work, because there's just a fire that kind of is, a fire of passion that's within me that, burns bright for acting, and always kind of has, Rebecca, to be honest, So I just try my best to read and learn, and, every opportunity, whether it's Halo or whether it's a one-man show in the theater, or, you know what I mean? It's, from a book, I'm always trying to learn and pick up new things, and, just be open, I guess,
I get you. And that's amazing though, because I feel like a lot of times that's a very low point where, you're doing soccer every day, and then at one point you just blow out your knee. So it's like for you to end up finding your passion through that moment of like just sorrow and just being hurt. Because I know a lot of times when people get hurt, they dwell and they don't really do much. So for you to find your passion is amazing.
Yeah, there was something in the sadness that I found staying up late, Rebecca, every night. Kind of, my sleep pattern was really not good. I was going to bed at 7, 8 a.m. and You know what I mean? I was off school that summer because the exams had finished and stuff, you know, so there was no real routine. So, you know, there was just something, you know, and I remember all the artists, the music that I was listening to, the songs that I listened to. And so it kind of was, I guess, an amalgamation of several different things that kind of just come together at the right time. Because I'd been doing youth drama, you know, from, you know, ages kind of 10, 11 and stuff like that. But I could probably safely say that it was only really at that moment that acting really became, you know, something really sort of serious for me, or something that I kind of maybe wanted to do in life and stuff, you know. So
right. And to shift gears a little bit, most of your family has moved to the United States. So what were their reactions when you told them that you're about to make your first American debut in a TV series?
I mean, they can't believe it. You know what I mean? They can't believe it. They can't believe it. You know, I have family all over the United States, Rebecca, and you know, some of my closest family is in Chicago, and you know, they can't believe it. You know, some of their last memories actually of me in person was in 1996. We went to visit, my family went to visit some family, and we went to Six Flags.
Oh,
the amusement place, the roller coasters and all that stuff. Yeah. I was too small to get onto some of the rides, Rebecca, so I had to boost my cap, my baseball cap, to get a couple extra centimeters, so I was above the kind of, you know, the height kind of the, you know, the sort of the height level or whatever. But yeah, I mean, look, they've seen, you know, a lot of my work over the years, and I worked in the theater indeed in America and stuff, and you know, they've tried to watch as much as they can. You know, a lot of the work, I'm sure, you know, as Amy said, you know, I've done a lot of independent film, and sometimes it maybe doesn't reach, or, you know, it maybe can't reach certain audiences and stuff, you know. So they're just as shocked as I am that I'm a part of it, and equally as kind of excited, you know what I mean? Because, you know, a lot of the family and their, you know, kids and kids of kids, you know, they all know the video game, and they kind of know the franchise and stuff, you know. So I don't think they can believe it yet still, you know.
Right. And to basically go off of that, so since this is your first American debut, can you describe to me the process and like the struggles of trying to break into the American market as an actor?
I'm still trying to do it. I'm not sure. I mean, yeah, I'm not. It's an awesome question, Rebecca. I'm not sure. For me, the kind of foundation, wanting to be an actor, you know, kind of my passion for acting, the craft of acting for me was I just wanted to act. I wanted to work. I wanted to work with incredible people. I wanted to collaborate with awesome people. And you know, I think in you know, earlier in life, you never really think of America. You just kind of think of maybe the next job, and you know what I mean, kind of, you know, paying your rent, or, you know what I mean, kind of looking after the bills and stuff like that. And yeah, of course, at some stage you think, you know, I'd love to go to the States, and I'd love to kind of break into the American market. And, you know, I mean, there's a lot of incredible projects, productions that are made in the United States. And, you know, I've always had an affinity with America, obviously, because a lot of my family, you know, kind of are there and have been there for a long time. And so, you know, it would be nice to kind of explore that kind of element or part of my kind of ancestry, if that kind of makes sense, you know. And it would be it's definitely something that I'm working on. I'm not sure I have the formula yet, but it's something it's something that I'm really excited about. And I think just being grateful for the moment, Rebecca, to just say, look, I'm in this incredible project with incredible people all across the board, right down to the crew, to the technicians, to the VFX, to everybody did their level best on this project. And you know, it's just exciting, I think, to be a part of something that feels really special, you know. So I'm just deeply grateful for that opportunity, and yeah, hopefully it leads to some more American projects, you know.
Definitely. And I definitely can say that your hard work has definitely landed you in a great position right now.
Well, that's very kind of you, Rebecca. That's very, very kind of you. Thank you. Thank you. That's
Of
really, really
course. We
kind of
trust
you.
the
Thank you.
process. We always trust the process.
Yeah, yeah. You gotta. Sometimes you don't have any other option but to trust the
Right.
process. You know what I mean? The only other option you have is to make a cup of tea. You know what I mean? That's make a cup of tea. You know.
So, what advice would you give to up and coming actors who are trying to figure out their place and like the process in which they should go? Now, from while talking to you, something I've definitely gotten is that everybody has their own process and everybody has their own way of going about things. So, what would your advice be to those who are trying to land a film, trying to figure out how to go about acting and basically honing in on their talents and skills?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think believe and belief in yourself, I think is huge. You know what I mean? And I think when the chips are down and you know you maybe feel like you've lost out on a few things, and look, you know, life in general, you know, in personal life things can rock you, and things professionally indeed can rock you as well, you know. So I just think it's, you know, kind of believing in yourself and the belief in the work that you've done behind the scenes day in day out, the work on your craft, learning, being open, a willingness to learn, and yeah, and staying at it, resilience, you know, all those types of things, they can help, you know. But I think everyone has a contribution to make, and everyone everyone has an incredible value, and so, you know, I mean, I just, yeah, it would be great if people can just, you know, keep focused and keep driven and just keep that kind of passion going, really, to be honest, you know, and keep that sort of that flame alight. You know, I think that's how it's kind of been for me in the really more difficult moments, is to believe in yourself, you know, and like you say, maybe trust in the process, you know. But there is always light, I think. Yeah, there is always light, I think, at the end of the tunnel, no matter how dark it may seem at times, you know. Yeah.
Trusting is always the way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and also as well, I think for young people, you know, I spoke about this recently as well, you know, that if, you know, you come from a certain, you know, background, or maybe, you know, you maybe think that, you know, going to train or going to do this is not viable, you know what I mean, that you don't give up, you don't, you know, you don't quit, that there is another route, there is another option, and that you can do it, you can make it. And I think that's important too, you know, because if I kind of look at what I did now and kind of transported myself back to a 16, 17, 18-year-old, I probably would be, you know, I would have been a little more kind of hesitant to kind of do what I did and drop out of school, you know, and I'm lucky and blessed that I had the people around me to sort of say, look, if this is what you want to do, go and do it, you know. So I think that's important too, that, you know, you can make it if you just believe, you know.
Definitely, definitely. And the next few questions I have, I just want to allow people to get a better chance of getting to know you. So I'm just going to ask some quick questions to basically get a better idea of who you are. Okay. So how did you get into acting?
How did I get into acting? My mom, to stop me probably from staying in the house all day and playing video games, said that you're going to the city and I'm signing you up for a youth drama program, and they're doing A Midsummer Night's Dream by William Shakespeare. And you're going to it Monday to Friday, and it's from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And that's what you're doing. And I think slowly but surely she you know, she'd maybe seen something in me that I hadn't seen, and yeah, that was kind of the start of it. That was my first introduction to it. I learned about improvisation very early on, and you know, I started to learn more about playwrights and, you know, what plays were, and acting and musicals. I did a lot of musicals. I did Back to the 80s, and I did Fame, and those types of things. They were a lot of fun and stuff,
Definitely. So what types of roles do you like performing most when you're presented with the acting opportunity?
Anything that's got a kind of foundation of truth, honesty, something that I think will kind of stretch me as an actor. I work probably from a place of fear, and so the more frightened I am of doing something for fear of kind of not being able to do it, or for fear of failing, the more possibly motivated I am to do that particular role. I mean, I've this last couple of years, I've probably gravitated towards more, pardon me, darker roles. But I started out in lighter roles, and I started out in comedy. I've started to do a little bit more. I mean, recently I shot a pilot comedy in London. And I hadn't maybe done any comedy, Rebecca, in a few years up until that point, so I'm just motivated by anything that is kind of steeped in truth and honesty, and something that's dynamic and makes me afraid.
And it's interesting that you said that, because most people, once they're presented with an opportunity that scares them, most people shut down. But you take on the opportunity.
Well, I try to. I remember I was asked to do a David Ireland play, wonderful playwright, back in 2013, and it was a wonderful team behind it, a wonderful director, a wonderful theatre company in Belfast. And I read the play, Rebecca, and I couldn't sleep for about 3 days, because it was just the most terrifying portrayal, the most difficult person that I would be playing, and evil. And and you kind of think, well, how can I do this, and how can I do this with a serious degree of authenticity and truth and honesty? And it was incredibly emotional and intense role. And but I did, I agreed to do it, and I did the best I could with it. And then I had always wanted to do a one-man show in the theatre, and I got that opportunity in early 2018 in Belfast with a play called East Belfast Boy, which centered on male mental health in the working class community in East Belfast. And I used to get so frightened every day. It was weird. You do the show in the beginning was 19 minutes, and then we did a run at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in the summer of 2018, and you have to make the show between 55 and 59 minutes. I just used to be so frightened when I get up every morning, because you kind of thought, gosh, I've got this ahead of me in the evening time, and it's just you on the stage on your own, and what if you forget a line, or you know what I mean, what if this happens? But it was a wonderful motivator, and I think it's always been a kind of a wonderful motivator. But yeah, all you can do is try, I guess.
Definitely. And who would you consider to be your acting role model?
Acting role model. I've worked with so many incredible actors in the theatre and in this country, and in outside of this country. I worked with some incredible actors. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I probably found the work of maybe Marlon Brando quite interesting, and Daniel Day-Lewis. I've kind of always kind of admired a lot of the roles that he's played. Joaquin Phoenix, I think, is someone who is pushing the boundaries. Philip Seymour Hoffman as well was one of my favorite actors, as was Robin Williams. I remember watching him in Hook as a kid in the early 90s. And you had, I think it was Dustin Hoffman playing Captain Hook, and the incredible Bob Hoskins, who passed some time ago, playing Smee, I think, but some of those types of actors that you grow up kind of watching, I think, I was interested in the dedication, I think, and commitment to the roles in different projects, different films and stuff.
Okay. And my last 2 questions. What's something about you that most people don't know?
what's something about me that most people don't know? That I have nobody to play table tennis with anymore.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. It's actually quite sad. It's really sad.
You know, if I
Yeah.
ever went to Ireland, I would play with you.
Please, yes, absolutely, absolutely. What I can do though, Rebecca, is I can fold my table up so
And
it's
then
kind of at a right angle, and I can play against the yeah.
all right. And my last question is, where do you hope to see your career in the next 5 years? Well, where do you hope to be in your career in the next 5 years?
Um, that's a awesome question. I mean, I don't know. It's difficult to not try and look forward. But as best I can, even probably since I was a kid, Rebecca, I kind of try and just live in the present, in the moment.
Mhm.
And I think that's what I find really interesting about acting, is that sometimes you can just forget about everything else, maybe in your personal life, and you can just kind of be and be in the moment, and be transported into something else, a different realm, a different this, a different that, a different world. And I kind of just try and do that. I'm certainly trying to practice it as best I can to just kind of be in the now. And what will be, I think will be. I think I'm going to continue to keep working hard every day, and keep trying to learn as best I can, and hopefully continue to work with more incredibly awesome people, talented people. And like I said earlier, I'm grateful for an opportunity like this, and I'm very humbled to be a part of it. And it's still a bit surreal, I think, so I'm just going to try and enjoy that, and see what happens.
Yes, definitely. I get that. And thank you so much for sitting down and talking with me today. I'm
Thank
excited
you,
to
Rebecca.
see your character on
Thank you
March
so much.
24th. I'm gonna
Yes.
definitely keep my eye out.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Rebecca. It's been awesome to chat to you. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you so much
Thank you
again
so
for
much.
joining me.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.